Hello everyone. We would like to talk about our final applied deep learning project on semantic segmentation using Cityscapes data. I, Mohit Gula, and Kumari Nishu will walk you through our project. We have organized our project into these sections: the data ingestion, the data transformation, the model section, and the evaluation on a video. I'll start off by speaking about what the semantic segmentation problem is. It is a computer vision task in which we label the specific regions of an image based on what is being shown. Uh, in segmenting an image, we label each pixel and to a corresponding class. As you can see in this image, example image below, the pixels corresponding to vehicles, humans, sidewalks, or roads get a different color associated with it. It finds a lot of application in fields such as self-driving cars, medical imaging, and satellites. For our project, we will be using the Cityscapes dataset, which provides 5,000 annotated images of road scenes across 50 different cities. Moving on to the data ingestion, we ingested our data from the Cityscapes website, and then we moved on to reorganize the directories in a way that would make our uh, training and processing of those images easier. We compressed the high resolution images into a small size of 299 cross 299 and stored these processed images as a zip archive, so that we have to do this process only once and not repeat it every time. Moving on to the next phase, the transformation phase. This contains code for, first of all, loading the processed archived from the previous stage, which is basically pulling the actual images and the labeled annotations from a storage bucket, online storage bucket. It is then creating a tf.dataset object from these images by specifying the image paths. And we're doing this for the training, validation, and the test images. We also wrote functions to visualize what our images would look like. And as you can see here, the dataset contains an actual image and its corresponding labeled annotated image, where each pixel corresponds to the segment that is being shown in the image. Moving on, I'll now discuss about one of the two models we use to perform semantic segmentation. I'll be speaking about the Pyramid Scheme Parsing Network, or the PSP-Net model. It uses yeah, so we can see the architecture of a rough architecture of what this model looks like, and I'll go into more detail to explain what the feature map and the pyramid pooling module does. Basically, the PSP-Net architecture is able to exploit global context information by different regions, by performing a different region-based context aggregation. So this allows it to uh, catch the local as well as the global cues from the image to make the predictions better. In our feature map layer, we can either use transfer learning or create a scratch network with dilated convolutions. Basically, in this layer, we have to define a hyperparameter n, which tells how many convolutional blocks are part of your feature maps. The more you have, the more granular details you're able to learn better. And each of these blocks are connected to the input image using skip connections. So if I briefly show the code corresponding to this, in our architecture, we have decided to define two such convolutional blocks, block 1 and block 2. We have kept the size of these same, and as you can see, there are multiple convolutional patch normalization and activation function of leaky value being repeated 3 times, and then a skip connection between them. Um, Moving on, the pyramid pooling module contains objects of size ranging from, so basically an image would contain objects from small to large areas in different regions. And what we can see from this image is that we are doing a average pooling of different size uh, so the red block is a global averaging pooling. The yellow block is a pooling of size 2 cross 2. Similarly, 4 cross 4 and 8 cross 8 for the blue and the green layers. And we can see this part of code corresponds to that here. And finally, in the end, what we do is we upscale each of these averaged layers to a similar dimension, and we use the feature map all of these together and we concat them to get a final model. Uh, Once we define the model, we can look at its summary to see if our skip connections and our concatenations are happening properly. And we have a network which has 25,000 trainable parameters. We now want to see how this model performs on the validation dataset. And and we are using early stopping here to ensure that we do not overfit our model. Uh, from the plots of accuracy versus epoch and loss versus epoch, we realize that the model is trained within 4 epochs and starts sort of overfitting beyond that as the validation accuracy dips. On the test dataset, we got pretty good accuracy of 79%, which, and on the validation datasets, we were getting around 65%. Lastly, to visualize what our predictions look like, we have visualized all the actual, the masked, and our predicted images next to each other to understand which areas get easily picked up. So in this PSPNet model, we can see that the sidewalks and the roads are easily identified, but certain segments or semantics like cars do not, which is shown in dark blue, do not get easily picked. And we can say that our model is trained well for the major segments such as the trees, sidewalks, but not so much for the segments like people or vehicles. I'll now let Nishu talk about the unit model.
So this is the second approach which we have taken for the semantic segmentation problem. So this is a particular type of architecture which is a special version of CNN. And this architecture has concatenate layers, as we can see from the design here. So the overall network has a double funnel shape. So in the first part, it increases the filters. It increases the number of channels from 64 up to 512, and in the second phase, it decreases the number of channels. Overall, this model is pretty big, and it has around 9 million parameters. So before moving forward towards the model definition and training, let's look at the spatial transformation which we have done for this unit architecture, which is color clustering. So initially the input was of some dimension which we have converted to 200 into 256 into 3, where 3 was the number of channels, which is essentially the RGB values of the input image. But the overall problem is to identify the color of each pixel, essentially belonging to different segments of the image, and give it that particular color. So in reality there can be a huge number of different colors, but we have identified that there are essentially 13 different major colors based on the different entities existing in those images. So what we have done is, first we have performed a K-means clustering model on our input images. So here we trained a K-means clustering model, and a number of clusters we have provided as 13. So the training data for the K-means clustering was different pixels and the RGB values for those pixels. So based on this, we trained this model which has around 13 different clusters. Once this model is trained, we will use this to transform our training data. Initially, the training data, we have around 93 batches, and each batch of size is 32 number of input images in that batch, and this is the dimension of each batch, where the 3 denotes the number of channels, RGB values. So for this particular image, we will transform this image to this dimension using our K-means model. So here we can see that the 3 channel is transformed to 13, which essentially denotes that for that particular pixel of the image, which which cluster of our trained model is dominating, and that particular cluster ID will be assigned for that particular pixels. So this transformation is done for both validation as well as testing data set. After doing this transformation, now we are going to define our model and then we will train it. In the model definition, we have performed the different blocks of layers based on the architecture design which we have shown previously. So in the beginning, we go on expanding the depth of the layers by increasing the number of channels of the layers, and after a step we start decreasing it. So this is like the overall design which we have defined here, and then we have shown the model summary. As we have told before, this model is pretty huge, and we have around 9 million model parameters in this model. So this is going to be a time consuming process to train this model well. For that sake, we have used the checkpointing approach to keep saving our models as soon as it is getting trained after each epoch. So I have saved the pre-trained model, and like once loaded that, it was not giving very good accuracy. So it was performing around 13% accuracy on the validation data set. So that's why we will retrain the model. And since each epoch was taking a lot of time, we have retrained only for 2 epochs. And after that, we have seen an accuracy of around 40% on the validation dataset. Once the training is done, we are going to visualize the performance of this model on some of the images from the test set. So in this prediction, here in the first column, we have shown the actual image, which is like this real image. And then this is the masked image, which was the expected output of the semantic segmentation problem. And this is the prediction image by our unit model. So in like looking at all these plots, we came to the conclusion that some of the classes are trained very well, and some of the classes are not captured very well. For example, like if we see the class like buildings, which is shown in yellow color, is more or less like captured well by our model, and also the sky, which is in red, and the trees, which is in blue, are shown in that color in the prediction as well. Whereas there are some classes which are not very well captured. For example, the distinction between road and sidewalks. So sidewalk was of color sky blue and road was of color black, but the model did not learn the distinction between these two entities, and it is kind of assigning the sidewalk color, which is sky blue, in place of either road or sidewalk. So that was one distinction it did not capture well. So this was the overall performance of our unit model. Now we are going to evaluate the best performing model on one of the video we have taken. So here, like first we loaded the PSP.NET it was performing, like it was well trained and it was performing better. So we loaded our pre-trained model, which we had saved initially. And then we started like taking the predictions on that using that particular model. So this is the video which we have recorded in New York on a regular day, and we will generate the predictions for different frames of this video. So the steps which we have taken to generate the output video for that is like first we created the frames from the video, then we made predictions for those frames, yeah, using our loaded model, and then we will combine the prediction frames in a single video, which we have shown here. The couple of key observations or to summarize our whole model is some of the classes are well captured, like the light pink and the dark pink color here for the roads and sidewalks, and some of the classes or more finer details are not well captured. For example, the dark blue color for the vehicles or the people color for the red is not very well captured in the output image, as we can see here. Also the like some classes like sky and building, sky, trees are well captured, as those kind of pixels were well represented in our training data set, whereas the classes which are not performing very well, we are not well represented in the training data set. So that is one feedback we can take for our future training, that if we want even the minority classes to be captured well, we should ensure that the input images are showing those kind of classes also well in the training data set. So overall, the performance of the model was decent, as we were not able to train it fully due to our GPU limitation, but the major distinctions of the parts it was able to capture. This is end of our presentation. Thank you.